Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're skipping past all that generic advice you usually hear and looking directly at the actual science of female reproductive health. We're going to break down the hidden biological hurdles to conception. You know, those silent factors that affect literally millions of people but somehow still manage to fly completely under the radar. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by looking at the fertility puzzle, then we'll tackle endometriosis, unpack obesity's reproductive ripple effect, and dive into secondary infertility, before finally wrapping the whole thing up with some incredibly actionable pathways to pregnancy. Let's jump right into Section 1, the fertility puzzle. So, what actually stands between conception and a healthy pregnancy? Well, getting pregnant and carrying a child to term isn't just a matter of timing. It requires this incredibly complex biological dance. We're talking about a system where every single hormone, cellular process, and anatomical structure has to hit its mark at exactly the right time. But here's the thing. The most formidable barriers, they often operate silently, way beneath the surface for years, just completely throwing off this delicate balance. Which leads us right to our first major hurdle. Section 2. Endometriosis, the hidden barrier. Think about it like this. With endometriosis, tissue that normally acts like the uterine lining essentially goes rogue. Instead of shedding normally during a monthly cycle like it's supposed to, it implants outside the uterus. Basically, it packs its bags and moves into the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, and the pelvic cavity, places where, frankly, it has absolutely nowhere to go. And I want to be really clear here, this isn't some rare anomaly. An estimated 200 million people worldwide are navigating this exact hidden barrier right now. 200 million. It's a staggering number, and it profoundly impacts not just their reproductive health, but their everyday lives. So how does this actually disrupt things? Well, this misplaced tissue sets off a fierce biological chain reaction. First off, it sparks chronic inflammation and builds up physical scar tissue. This scarring can literally barricade eggs from ever entering the fallopian tubes. But it's not just a physical blockade, it's chemical too. It completely alters the local immune system, degrades microscopic egg quality, and creates this highly inflammatory environment that actively resists embryo implantation. It's like the whole reproductive system is sounding a false alarm. To put that into perspective, the drop-off in fertility is severe. Under totally normal circumstances, the monthly chance of pregnancy hovers right around 10 to 20%. But introduce surgically documented endometriosis into the mix. Those odds plummet to just 1 to 10%. It is a massive, incredibly frustrating biological roadblock. All right, moving on to Section 3, obesity's reproductive ripple effect. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly does excess weight actually alter reproductive biology? We hear it talked about a lot, but it's not just a lifestyle factor. It is a profound metabolic shift. But how does a systemic shift like that specifically target something as hyper-specialized as the reproductive system? Let's take a look. What happens is it triggers a hormonal domino effect. It starts with elevated leptin, which is a hormone produced by fat cells. This excess leptin disrupts the absolutely crucial communication line between your brain and your ovaries. It essentially jams the signal for normal GnRH secretion, which then scrambles the instructions for your vital LH and FSH hormones. And the end result of all this miscommunication? Highly irregular ovulation, or in some cases, no ovulation at all. The real paradigm shift here is realizing that body fat or adipose tissue isn't just some passive storage locker for extra energy. It's actually a highly active endocrine organ. As that leptin level spikes, another hormone called adiponectin drastically drops. This creates a chemical imbalance that actively disrupts ovarian steroid production and heavily drives systemic insulin resistance. Because of this, there is a massive overlap here with PMOS, or polycystic ovary syndrome. Driven by that insulin resistance from excess adipose tissue, high insulin levels essentially trick the ovarian theca cells into overproducing androgens, male hormones. This hyperandrogenic state is what throws the menstrual cycle entirely off the rails. It's a really tough cycle to break. Ultimately, zooming all the way down to the cellular level, this metabolic state creates a highly hostile environment. An influx of pro-inflammatory molecules and reactive oxygen species causes severe lipid toxicity. It also causes mitochondrial dysfunction, which literally drains the cell's energy. So this metabolic stress aggressively impairs egg maturation, compromises the uterine lining, and actively hinders early embryonic development. The biological machinery just gets totally overwhelmed. Which brings us to Section 4, Unpacking Secondary Infertility. Secondary infertility is a very real and often surprising medical diagnosis. It's defined as the inability to conceive or carry a pregnancy to term after previously giving birth without any fertility treatments. It's typically diagnosed by a specialist after 6 to 12 months of trying, obviously factoring in things like maternal age. And I want to emphasize that it is incredibly widespread. Affecting around 11% of couples in the US, secondary infertility is actually just as common as primary infertility. It's a huge hurdle, but it rarely gets the same amount of attention. Let's bust a major misconception right now. This is absolutely not solely a female issue. The medical data strictly shows that the root causes are split completely evenly between both sexes, alongside a decent portion of totally unexplained cases. It's a shared hurdle for sure. Think about it, a lot can change biologically between pregnancies. Looking over at the female factor causes, we see naturally declining egg quantity and quality with age. But there's also the possibility of new structural blockages from prior C-sections or a D&C procedure. Plus, there's the potential development of conditions like PMOS, or the endometriosis we unpacked just a few minutes ago. And on the male side, well, the biological profile shifts just as much. We're talking about age-related drops in testosterone, new prostate issues, or the development of something called a varicocele. That's an enlarged vein condition that, by itself, accounts for 30% of male infertility. These factors, along with everyday lifestyle and medication changes, can drastically impact sperm quality and count over time. Okay, let's turn to some solutions in Section 5, Pathways to Pregnancy. The good news here is that getting past these hurdles starts with a highly structured diagnostic roadmap. Specialists can pinpoint the exact barrier you're facing by reviewing your medical history, running comprehensive semen analyses, checking hormone blood panels, and utilizing really targeted imaging, like transvaginal ultrasounds, to spot any of those structural blockages we talked about. It's all about finding the exact piece of the puzzle that's missing. Once that specific hurdle is identified, modern science has some absolutely incredible tools to bypass it. We're talking about everything from ovulation-inducing medications and intrauterine insemination, all the way to advanced in vitro fertilization. For structural issues, minimally invasive surgeries can literally clear the path. And never underestimate targeted lifestyle interventions. They can do wonders to restore your metabolic balance. There are so many actionable options out there. So it's science constantly untangling the hidden biology behind endometriosis, obesity, and secondary infertility. What new pathways to parenthood might open up for you? Remember, your journey is completely valid. And yes, these hurdles are biologically real. But the pathways forward, they have literally never been more advanced. So take this knowledge, use it to empower yourself, and maybe start a conversation with a fertility specialist today. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.